White Sox baseball on CSN Chicago is presented by State Farm. And we are coming to you from Kauffman Stadium in the heart of Mid-America, Kansas City, Missouri, where tonight Comcast Sportsnet presents White Sox baseball. It's Ivy Garcia. It's Todd Frazier and our Sox as they get set to butt heads with Eric Hosmer, Mike Moustakas, and the Kansas City Royals. Hi, everybody, and welcome. I'm Ken Harrelson with Steve Stone as we get set to preview Game 3 of this 4-game set. As you may or may not know, we have split the first two. Vargas won the opener for them by a score of 6-1. Then last night, Quintana for us, and we shut them out 6-0. So this has been, we played them 5 times this year. We're 4-1 against them. This is a big departure from last season.
Last season and the 5 seasons before that, Kansas City was dominant. But let's take a look at this year as opposed to last year. 4-1 as opposed to 5-14. You see the batting average, a big difference. The run differential, quite obviously different. ERA drastically different at 2.45 for our ball club, and batting average against, well, our pitchers have shut down their hitters. So everything going very well for the Sox against Kansas City, and hopefully tonight the same thing.
Well, we also have been getting some outstanding production from the catchers, Soto and Narvaez.
Nobody really knew what to expect offensively from the catching situation, which was completely revamped from last year. As it turns out, these guys are doing quite a job. Last 7 games, 375 with 6 driven in. Gio Soto has 3 home runs, 9 driven in. Narvaez has 3 driven in. And so far, offensively, from the left and right side, both of these guys getting the job done. Omar gets a nod tonight.
And tonight, a couple of right-handers out there on that bump.
There is no doubt that Mike Pelfrey needs a win as far as the Sox are concerned, and Nathan Karns feels the same way for Kansas City. We'll take a look at what they did last Friday in the case of Mike Pelfrey. 4 2/3, got a no decision in that one. Last time we saw Nate Karns in Chicago, he went 6, gave up 4 earned runs on 7 hits. Didn't walk anybody, had a pretty good curveball, and hopefully he won't be getting that one over tonight. So let's see in the 3rd game of a 4-game series.
All right. Sit back, relax, and strap it down. White Sox baseball coming your way.
ChristianChicago.com, presented by The Great Escape. Whether it's pools, patio furniture, hot tubs, or more, escape your everyday. Shop The Great Escape. And I'm here with the aforementioned Dan Hayes. And Dan, let's talk a little bit about shifts, because that's been the rage in baseball these days, and the Sox are employing them quite a bit.
Yeah, absolutely. The White Sox are third most in baseball in all shifts. Now, that's traditional, non-traditional, partial shifts, but they're third at this point in the majors with 312. At that, 4 years ago, they had 102 for the entire season in 2012. So, very drastic shift. Rick Rennery has employed this with Joe McEwen's help. A lot of work from the coaching staff where they'll go through basically on every hitter and look at their ground balls back to last April 1st and see what they've done and scout. So it's a combination of scouting, spray charts, and they've really gone and implemented a lot. Rick Hahn had said this was something the White Sox were going to do under Rick Rennery more often. They're on pace right now for about 2,000 shifts this season. Last year they were just over 1,000, and obviously they've had some success with it. 211 average on ground balls against them so far this season.
And everybody thinks that the shift is strictly for the infield, because you find pull hitters, and usually you see a shift with 3 guys on one side of the infield. But the shift also works in the outfield, and usually the shift in the outfield is not the same as the infield. So how is it working overall for the Sox, and are they happy with it?
They are happy with it. I think, I talked to James Shields, who actually is the second most shifted pitcher since they started keeping track of this. And obviously this has been a trend that's kicked in the last 6-7 years. He played for the Tampa Bay Rays. Joe Madden really got into this, and when Shields was there, they thought a 75% success rate was a good thing. So obviously it's 79% on ground balls. The White Sox feel good about it overall. Their overall average is 260 when the shift is in play. However, that does account for doubles to the wall. Balls in play. They're pleased. They're very happy with how things have gone so far. We've seen it be very effective. I mean, there's times where Victor Martinez is going to beat you, but at the same time, that's just baseball. They expect those kinds of things. I think that the way they've used it so far, they are pleased, and they're going to continue to do it. And players are used to it. You see it because this is the type of pitching staff that allows for it. There are fewer strikeout pitchers. You've got Dylan Covey. You've got James Shields. Shields hasn't pitched in 12 days. He's still somewhere around 45th in baseball in shifts used, and he's done very well. Hitters are hitting 200 when the shift is on play against James Shields.
Let's talk a little bit about the health of 2 pitchers. I know Dan has addressed this before, but James Shields and Carlos Rodon, I know that our fans are very interested in when they're coming back. Give us an update.
Shields yesterday, actually, they decided to slow him down. He had a little bit of trouble with his lat. It's just not progressing the way he wants to. He said he feels great overall, but the lat is kind of sticking there. I keep hearing that Carlos Rodon is making progress. We're not getting a whole lot of information on that, but we've heard more and more that it sounds like he's making some good progress. I'm guessing he's going to get off a mound sometime soon, and then there should be a rehab assignment somewhere down the road.
We commented on the catchers and how well they're doing. Talk a little bit about Soto and Narvaez as a team.
It's been really effective. I mean, I think you look at the way, the offense makes it easier to see, and you talked about those numbers. And I mean, I think the way they provide good at bats has been such a critical part for that lineup. I mean, you look at Narvaez, and he's takes a lot of pitches, and he's talked about how he feels better at the major league level. He knows they're going to be strikes or balls. It's been pretty consistent, and they obviously work very well with the pitchers.
That was Dan Hayes, our White Sox insider. Stay with us. We'll be back with White Sox Royals coming up after these messages.
West and Blue Shield of Illinois. Through it all. By Lexus, who encourages you to experience amazing. And by Miller Lite, the original light beer. Miller Lite, hold true.
Welcome back to the city of much barbecue. We're back in Kansas City, back at Kauffman Stadium. And the Sox and the Royals are going to hook it up for Game 3. So let's take a look at how Ricky Renteria is going to line up our Sox for the game tonight. Tim Anderson leading it off. Yomer Sanchez had a big night last night. He's in the 2 spot. Then it's Melky Cabrera, Jose Abreu, Todd Frazier, who's lit it up against these Royals with Javi Garcia, Leury Garcia, Omar Narvaez, and Cody Ashley, the DH and hitting 9th. The defense and how they'll line up behind Nathan Carnes. Alex Gordon back in the lineup with Lorenzo Cain and Jorge Bonifacio in the outfield. Mike Moustakas also back in the lineup with Alcides Escobar with Merrifield and Eric Hosmer in the infield. Salvador Perez back behind the plate. And our Lexus experienced amazing starting pitcher is Nate Carnes. He's on for his 5th start, his 6th game overall. He's 0-2 his ERA. Little above 6 1/4. There you look at the rest of the numbers, and he's got a good curveball. If he gets it over, he can be tough. So the umpires for the game tonight. Adam Hamari behind the plate. The crew chief Bill Miller at first, Kerwin Danley at second, and Todd Tishner is at third. So on a night where the weather has cleared up, the rain is gone, we're ready to kick it off, and I'm ready to turn it over to my play-by-play partner, Ken Harrelson.
All right, Stoney, thank you. And once again, good evening, everyone, and welcome to White Sox baseball right here on CSN Chicago. Before we show you our picks to click, you at home select yours as Nate Carnes gets ready with the first pitch to Anderson. And that pitch down low. Anderson 2 for 9 in the series, comes in hitting at 206. A couple of homers, he's driven in 6. That ball into left field. They got a good one out there. Alex Gordon makes the play. 50 degrees at game time, but it feels a little cooler than that.
Well, the wind very much a factor, and this is the first time in this series the wind's blowing in from right field. So it's going to knock it down to right, and it's going to help it down the left field line.
So here's Sanchez. Yomer 3 for 4 with an RBI last night, plus a couple of good plays at second. Comes in hitting at 279, a homer. He's driven in 5. Takes first pitch strike, and here at beautiful Kauffman Stadium, 330 down the line, 385 in the gaps, and 410 straight away center.
Carnes has a good fastball. Tops out maybe 93. Occasionally he can push it to 94. He's got a very good curveball and a straight change. And there is that hook, and Sox hitters are hoping he doesn't get that over. If he doesn't get it over, then he's not all that difficult to hit. If he does, he is difficult.
He's 29 years old, 6'3", 225 pounds. His air is out, number 2. So right now let's check out our picks to click. Fans went with Sanchez. The crew's going with Garcia. Steve's going with Cabrera. And Mike Mazza, Larry Majorak, Tom Eichstadt, Pete Catazone, Laura Arenas, Mary Weiss, and I. We're going to go with Cody Ashley. Here's Cabrera.
Nate Carnes pitched for Texas Tech. Born in Franklin, Pennsylvania. He, at times in his career, has been a pretty good pitcher, especially with Tampa Bay, but he's really struggled against our Sox. 0-2, 5.24 career ERA.
Sox coming hitting at 239 as a team with a 3.11 ERA. There's a base hit. So Steve's pick to click, the 2-out single.
Melky keeps the first inning alive, gets a fastball that's belt high, takes it to left center field, keeping it alive for Jose Abreu. talked with Jose before the game today. He says he's feeling great. And he's starting to swing the bat very well. So we'll see if the home runs follow.
He's 1 for 9 in this series, hitting at .264, a couple of homers. He's driven in 11. Tags it up. And that pitch inside. Amari, last time we saw him behind the plate, he was really good. In fact, game last night, Todd Titchener, boy, he was on top. That's one of the best games umpired we have seen all season long.
You hardly noticed him because the players didn't acknowledge him. They didn't look back. They didn't ask him where it was, and pitchers didn't do it either. There's a look at Todd.
Yeah, that's he might have a game as good as that he had last night. It'd be hard to top it. That was almost perfect.
Yeah.
Now field straight up, spread out, about equidistant. Count evens at 2.
The key would be to get Nate Carnes into the late innings. And the late innings considered 7th inning on. If he can get there, he's been among the worst in baseball in OPS.
Well, if he gets to the late innings, though, that means he's pitching well tonight. So let's get him out of there early. That's not the same Kansas City bullpen we've seen for the last 5 years.
And Ned Yost addressed that. He was talking before the game. He said, you know, I just don't have the guys out there that I used to have, and so I got to manage a little bit differently these days.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
That's why Dayton Moore did such a wonderful, wonderful job here. He's building the model, really, for clubs now and down going forward. Letting their manager, letting his manager, the general manager, have the option of managing a 5 or a 6 inning ball game.
And that's usually what happened with them. They had a righty and lefty for the 7th. They had a bona fide lockdown setup man as well as wonderful closers.
Hosmer, he's good. Steps on the bag, and that's a hang wolf. And meanwhile, after half inning of play, it's our guys nothing, and their guys coming to bat.
It's Merrifield, Moustakas, and Kane at the top with Hosmer, Perez, and Gordon in the middle, followed by Bonifacio, Moss, and Escobar playing shortstop, hitting 9. The defense and how they'll line up behind Mike Pelfrey. It's Melky, Liuri, and Avisail in the outfield with Todd Frazier, Tim Anderson, Yomer Sanchez, Jose Abreu in the infield. Omar Narvaez behind the plate. And our Lexus Experience Amazing starting pitcher is Mike Pelfrey. He's had a hard time with these Royals. ERA of 6.5, a 1-4 lifetime record, and there you look at the numbers this year.
First pitch strike to Merrifield. Witt comes in at 237, a couple of homers. He's driven in 3. He was 1 for 4 last evening. 28-year-old infielder, outfielder. Good rip. Meanwhile, the count 0-2.
Last time out for Mike, he went into the 5th inning. Taken out of that ball game. He got a no decision. Key for him, like so many pitchers who are not overwhelming, is getting his off-speed stuff over the plate. There you look at the changed split grip, which he'll employ. That was one of the things he doesn't want to do. He got under that fastball. If you don't stay on top of it, keep your fingers on top of the ball's going to stay up.
Alfrey, 6'7", 240 pounds, out of Wichita. He gone. Boy, he just absolutely aced it. You know, I was thinking about Mike. He's still, just 33 years old. So by not any stretch of the imagination is he an old pitcher. But I was thinking about him after his last start. And to me, he still has a fastball that if he got something he can get you off of that fastball is plenty good enough to pitch.
I think that that's the case. But, I think you can probably mention 500 pitchers who work quickly to everyone who are successful that work slowly. And Mike has always been a slow worker. It's hard to keep your rhythm if you work slowly.
Well, that was one of the issues that I was thinking about. The first thing that popped in my mind, I think he's a perfect candidate to work on a knuckleball.
I think
perfect candidate.
Anybody who can do it, anybody who can actually get the feel for it, is a great candidate.
Shift. There's what Dan Hayes and Steve were talking about in the pregame show. So Moustakas will start. Yeah, I mean that will add if he can get guys to where they recognize that this guy's also has a knuckleball. That's all I got to say mentally. At that point, that adds another 6 inches, 8 inches on his fastball.
Look at Stephen Wright from Boston. The start that he got off to last year.
He popped into my mind after his last start.
Because he throws a harder knuckleball, and it could very well be that all he'd have to do is throw it maybe once out of every 4 times.
Here's Kane, takes first pitch strike.
But it is so very difficult because it's a completely different release of that pitch as any other pitch you've ever thrown in your life.
Well, there's an old saying. As here comes the homer. Nice backhand, nice peg, nice play, and a 1-2-3 nice inning for Pelfrey.
We'd like to welcome all of our viewers watching on Wellman Cooperative Telephone Company in Wellman, Iowa.
Getting back to Pelfrey, and here's the thing. If you've been struggling, which he has been struggling, if you've been struggling, why not try something? Why not make a slight change? It didn't have to be a drastic change. Maybe change an arm angle. Whatever it is. You know, it's like that one commercial that one guy makes. You know, if
what do you got to lose?
You got nothing to lose.
That's it. What do you have to lose? No, in Mike's case, when he's healthy, he's a competent pitcher. He has not been healthy a lot during his career, but every pitcher can make one addition. As you get older, you just have to keep evolving in this game.
Well, I just think that a lot of general managers, most general managers, as a matter of fact, miss the point that if you can develop a knuckleball pitcher who can pitch in the big leagues with a knuckleball, you're talking about a staff saver. Just that simple. That's foul straight back. You're talking about a staff saver. These guys are invaluable. Tied 2 for 5 in the series. 1 for 3 lifetime off Nate Carnes. Made a B pitch on him right there.
James Shields has had a setback, and they decided to push him back a bit to let whatever inflammation there is in there cool down some, so he's not going to be back quite as quickly as everyone had hoped.
Flips that one into right field. Bonifacio. 1 out. Well, the first thing you always hear about Mike Pelfrey, I've asked in the past when the first time I saw him a few years back. First thing you hear, oh, what a great guy.
Yeah.
What a great guy. And that's always nice to hear. So all of a sudden, without even meeting him and knowing him, when he's pitching against other people, you sort of pull for him. And so if that's the case, then you follow him a little bit. And I think that he still has the ability, if he can get guys off his fastball, he still has the ability to have a nice career in the big leagues.
Well, a couple things jump right out at you. Number one, when you're picked in the first round, you have a lot of ability. And because of his size, because of his strength, and because of the big fastball he had, he was the #1 draft pick of the New York Mets. Then he had lots of physical problems. He's at the point now where he's probably got to make an adjustment.
Pops him up, jammed him, got in on him. So Ivy now 2 for 3 in the series with an RBI.
A couple more pitchers went down. We're talking about pitching injuries. Cole Hamels probably lost for a couple of months. That's a terrible break for the Texas Rangers. And Corey Kluber also disabled. He had a back issue, came out of the ball game against Detroit after 3 innings, and they put him on the 10-day disabled list. So a lot of pitchers around baseball just dropping, if not like flies, pretty close. Syndergaard will be lost for an indeterminate amount of time. He's getting a second opinion. That's a bad injury.
Well, that's a Jake Peavy type.
Yeah, hopefully it won't be as drastic as that. They're calling it a partial tear, but he's going to get a second opinion. They'll take a look and see exactly what it is.
Well, this is where Dr. Anthony Romeo can come into play.
There have been a lot of pitchers just over the last year and a half that are injuring the lat. And used to be you didn't hear that, but now you're hearing it more and more.
Well, Jake Peavy was the first latissimus dorsi surgery procedure, I should say, ever done in Major League history. So that'll tell you there weren't a lot of lat injuries prior to that. And now there's a plethora.
Yeah, and Jake was a different pitcher. I think maybe one of the reasons is that everybody wants to light up that radar gun and throw every pitch as hard as they can throw it. That works well for a bit, and eventually your body says, well, we're going to have to back off somewhat here.
Leary Comes in at 288, a couple of homers, 7 knocked in, 1 for 8 with an RBI in this series, and what a job he has been doing overall, both with the lumber and the leather. Escobar gets him. 1, 2, 3 innings, and we'll go to the bottom of the second, scoreless.
Miller time later in the game, brought to you by Miller Lite. Eric Hosmer is one of the guys, along with Mike Moustakas, those guys that are at the corners every day, one of the guys who have to start heating it up. If he does, the Royals, who are averaging under 3 runs per game, that's the lowest in the major leagues by a wide margin. But they've got to get those corner guys in the infield to hit. And it's just a matter of time till Hosmer breaks out of this. And if he tries to pull everything, he's going to set the world record for 4-3 putouts.
Now Sanchez out in short right field. I tell you what was amazing to me is that ball into left field hit hard, so the leadoff single. What was amazing to me was 2 days ago on May 1st, Jorge Bonifacio hit the first 2-run homer for Kansas City all year long. That is absolutely almost unbelievable.
Well, a combination of guys who just don't hit it out of the park a lot, and also the fact that nobody was getting on base. I mean, this offense was dormant for quite some time and pretty much stays that way.
So here's Salvador Perez, 26-year-old catcher, hitting at 258, 6 homers, 14 driven in. Curveball. Grabs a strike at the top of the zone.
If Mike can throw a ground ball, it's going to be a relatively easy double play, because Perez does a lot of things well. One of them is not running. He's grounded into 4 double plays this year. Only Hosmer, who's grounded into 8, has grounded into more of them.
Well, Hosmer just, as a rule, hits the ball too hard.
He does that, and 8 double plays already pencils out to an astonishing year.
Because he is absolutely, he has got good speed, especially being a left-handed hitter. Down that line. Flips that one. Long way to go, and it's foul. Hosmer knew where his outfielders were, and he was off and running in case that thing happened to catch the wind, Kern, and stay fair.
Well, he knew there was nobody who was going to get to it.
Exactly.
It wasn't high enough for Sanchez to get it,
but he didn't have to look.
No, I was going to say, knowing where Avi was, you know,
yeah,
he's got no chance of getting it.
Well, the Yankees have had 2 phenoms, Sanchez last year and Aaron Judge this season. because Judge just became the youngest player ever with 13 homers in the team's first 26 games.
He had another one tonight. I mean, we saw him, and strength-wise, there are not too many guys around close to as strong as he is. At 6'7", 285. He's a huge man. And last year he struck out so much you really couldn't tell his power. This year he's cut his strikeouts in half and hitting the ball out of the park in every direction. They signed Salvi as a 16-year-old. Good size. A great defender to go with a very powerful bat. He's a big, strong guy.
One-two pitch. Good pitch. In on him, up and in. Now, a strange thing happened in the Orioles Red Sox game. Kevin Gausman was pitching for Baltimore, and he hit Xander Bogaerts with a curveball, a 77-mile-an-hour curveball, and was thrown out of the game.
Yeah, that might have been a bit of an overreaction for what has happened between the two teams.
Nice. Nice. Yes. Rack him up. 2 down.
There was a ground ball, and there was a fine 5-4-3. Yolmer Sanchez gets rid of the ball very quickly, and usually in the exact same spot he catches it. Good solid play. Yolmer takes one step back, and knowing Perez is running, he's got some time. Good effort all the way around.
That'll bring up the veteran outfielder Alex Gordon, hitting at 187. No homers. He's driven in 5. Everything in baseball is contagious.
Well, they're working with Gordon on doing exactly what Hosmer did his first time up, which is using left and left center field.
Well, the best way to do that is just convince him that he's better off trying to beat somebody arm side.
And the fact that, you know, from a theoretical standpoint, you have longer to wait to watch the baseball if you're thinking about hitting it the other way.
You try to beat him arm side, that's an approach. That's not mechanics. The last thing you want to do is work on guys' mechanics, especially at 33 years old, and get him in between. That's the worst place a hitter can be, is in between.
Gordon usually is not in between against Belfry. You look at those numbers and they're robust.
Right there on the shift, and that'll retire the side. Leadoff single goes for naught. The 5-4-3 double play, and we're into the third. Still no score.
Sox checking an official White Sox MasterCard debit card only available at your local Wintrust Community Bank. Go to wintrust.com/Sox to learn more. Wintrust Community Bank, member FDIC.
Here's Narvaez. Omar hitting at 278. 1 for 3 in this series. Takes first pitch strike on the inside corner.
That platoon, it's not a straight platoon, but the platoon of Omar and Gio behind the plate have produced some pleasant offense for the Sox. Gio's hit 3 home runs, driven in 9. Omar has driven in 3, but he's hitting 278 coming in. So a lot of production.
Gio last night, 2 for 3, 2 RBIs, 2 big RBIs.
Oh, he's been swinging it very well.
He's hurting the ball.
Yeah, he does.
That's just on top of the zone.
It's unusual for a young hitter to come into the league and have the kind of eye that Omar has had since he put on a Sox uniform in the major leagues. Good command of the strike zone.
Pops him up. And Moustakas got him. And a reminder, the White Sox made ballpark passes available now, and for just $42, fans can attend all 12 games in May with tickets delivered digitally to your smartphone. So visit whitesox.com/pass for more information or to order yours today.
Get some nice attractions, Minnesota and San Diego on the next homestand, and the final homestand of May, Detroit and the Boston Red Sox come to town at the end of May.
Here's Cody. And he's got a 2-0 count.
He becomes a pretty important hitter because the Sox are looking for left-hand hitting to produce some runs. And Cody has that opportunity, and hopefully he can make the most of it.
Well, when you look at Abreu, you look at Frazier, you look at Avi, you'd better be able to stick some left-handed hitter in there to
and that's
have some pop.
You need some balance, and
Actually, he's got some pop. He just got to make contact. Is that pitch just on the out or inside edge of the inside corner? One thing about him in this bad start he's off to, hitting an 0.93 coming in, somebody's going to wear it, and he has been wearing it. It seems like every time there's a pitch that can go either way, it goes the pitcher's way.
Well, unfortunately, it seems like when you're going well personally, that pitch comes in, same pitch, umpire calls it a ball, suddenly you find yourself ahead in the count. When you're going poorly, it seems like you walk up there with a 1-2 count every time.
Or 0-2.
Yeah, I mean, somewhere along the line, it does turn around.
I've been there and done that. Every time I stepped in that box, I felt like it was 0-2. Two down.
Tim doesn't do it often. He does have the ability to bunt, and that's why, especially if he's going to hit at the top of the lineup, you take a look at the third baseman every time you come up. Now, there's many times he's going to take that bunt away from you, but right now, Moustakas even with the bag. Tim not thinking about a bunt, I don't believe.
Well, if we keep swinging at that pitch, Karn's going to have himself a lot of fun out there tonight.
Yeah, there is no doubt that it looked like a strike when it left his hands, but dropped well out of the zone.
Oh, 0-2 the count. that is a souvenir.
Carnes has a pretty good curveball tonight, and he is throwing it for strikes.
Just off the corner.
That was a straight change. Didn't miss by much. Perez wants it outside. Carnes gets it there just off the corner. That was a good call by Adam Amari because that one didn't miss by much, but it did miss.
Sox coming in with an 8-6 road record. The winners of 7 of their last 9. Kansas City 6-6 here at home, but 2-11 on the road this year. And they have lost 10 of the last 11.
Struggling start for a team that saw its bullpen dissolve. The offense just not present since the time the season started till right when this game kicked off.
Hit softly for the hopper. So that is 7 in a row retired by Nate Carnes.
Yes. Javi comes on, makes a great catch, and we're going to give you the defensive metrics. That's how much time he had, 4.4. Catch probability at 65%, made it 100% after he caught it. And it's a 3-star catch.
Here's a strong young man, Jorge Bonifacio, hitting at 300, a couple of homers, one of them coming in the first game here, and it was a big boy home run. That's caught. So one pitch, good pitch right there by Mike, just ate him up inside.
Mike is moving the ball around, changing speeds, and the changeup has been particularly good tonight as he throws a fastball, gets it in on the hands of Bonifacio, can't do anything with it.
Well, here's my point. That will tell you he still has good enough stuff right now to pitch well in the big leagues, as is, if he's pinpoint.
Well,
if he's pinpoint.
I was going to say that. Yeah, you got 2 ways to fool a hitter. One is location, the other is velocity, and so if you change your velocity, you can occasionally miss location and still get away with it. If you don't, you better not miss location.
Well, that's the thing. You're going to make mistakes, and when you do, especially with a fastball, if you don't have anything to get these guys off that fastball and you make a mistake with that fastball, it's going to get hit hard. I mean, very hard. Personally, I'm glad he's here because he's working with probably the best pitching coach he's ever had, in Don Cooper. And Cooper has done miracles with a lot of guys.
He's particularly effective taking an older pitcher who has had some success in the major leagues, fallen on hard times, and needs maybe a different voice to explain something to him that he might not have noticed before, and Don does it very well.
Well, Don's got a different voice with that New York accent.
He's got one of those.
That a boy. Mike. 2 down. Moss is retired.
At 6'7", not too much is going to go, especially on a bounce over your head, and he's able to make that play.
You know, getting back to the possibility of the knuckleball, it's not that he has to really throw it for strikes that much. Just to show guys, use it as a show-me pitch, just to put that little specter in the back of their mind, because it will register in hitters' minds.
If you are going to teach it, it's best to have somebody who mastered it, because otherwise, the whole explanation of how you throw a pitch, it's a stiff wrist pitch. It's the only pitch that's delivered that way. That's why it's so difficult to master. If it wasn't, you'd have 2 or 3 on every team.
Well, there's no question that one of the greatest pitches in the world to hit in baseball, Major League Baseball, is a hanging knuckleball.
That's what you watch for with R.A. Dickey. You see those that come in and they're tumbling instead of fluttering. They're hit a long way.
2 out and the 3-0 pitch. There's one. I might get him.
They get any of their decent speed guys on, they're going to try to take advantage and steal a base.
That ball hit hard into left field, but we got a man there. And that'll retire the side. We'll go to the 4th, no score. Insurance MLB All-Star Game ballot is here. So head to whitesox.com/vote to choose your hashtag AS All-Star Game worthy Sox stars and send them to the All-Star Game. Presented by MasterCard on July 11th in Miami. So vote today, vote tomorrow. Vote at whitesox.com. Yolmer Sanchez will lead it off for us here in the top of the 4th inning. 0 for 1. Cold night here in Kansas City. Wind not as blustery as we anticipated.
Just the fact that we're going to get this game in is a relief, because a few days before we got here, you looked at the Wednesday night game and thought, well, this is going to be tough. Lots of rain in the area. In fact, they got rained out in St. Louis, which is just up the road. And they called that game early this afternoon.
That's high into left field. Well, when we were in Detroit and I checked my iPad, I've got 4 or 5 different apps, weather apps. All 4 days here look terrible. Plus, all 3 days in Baltimore look terrible.
Well, they're not looking real good right now. Friday seems to be okay. Saturday seems to be tough.
Cabrera has their only hit. Line drive, single into left field. Takes first pitch strike right there.
Both of these pitchers, who have struggled mightily with their opponents, have pitched very well tonight.
Well, they're making good pitches. So when you do that, that's throwing strikes and changing speeds. Carnes had a good curveball, tough to lay off of. And you brought it up about Mike Pelfrey. He's working both sides of the plate.
Getting inside on the right-handers, which sets up his straight change or curveball away.
Good job.
Carnes came over here from Seattle in exchange for Jared Dyson. Well, he was a very valuable member of this team for quite some time. He had a stolen base late. He was your guy.
Well, the 2 guys that beat us more in the 8th and 9th innings last few years at Kansas City were Hosmer and Dyson.
Dyson was a tremendous weapon
without
to
a bat in his hand.
Yeah, great weapon to have. In fact, the Royals in September, when they could expand the rosters and into the playoffs, brought up Terrence Gore also. So they had 2 guys who could beat you with their speed. And Dyson was not a bad hitter. Gore couldn't hit very well, but Dyson hit the ball pretty well.
Nubs that one right off the end of the bat. Bobbled. And can't get him.
Carnes, for whatever reason, took an inordinate amount of time. I think he's unhappy with himself, and he gets an error on it. It came off with spin, but he was very leisurely after he dropped the ball. Melky able to beat it. So E1 and opens the door.
It's only the 8th error that Kansas City has made this year.
Look at the #1 defensive club in the American League.
They will catch it. That's one reason they've been very good and will, in my opinion, going forward, be very good once again. But they're going to have to make some adjustments in that bullpen.
Yeah, they've got to figure out, with Herrera now as their closer, they've got to figure out who is going to get the ball to Kelvin Herrera. Not going to be near as locked down as it was over the last 4 or 5 years. Still has a chance to be pretty good.
Very quickly, 0-2 the count to Abreu.
Soria is the guy charged with being the primary setup man, and he's been a top of the line closer up till the last couple of years, so they're pretty comfortable with him. And Herrera's got the big fastball, but he's not striking out that many guys this year.
They get to force a second. 2 down. Softly hit. And that'll bring in Frazier. Tied one out to Bonifacio in right field.
Todd's got a 9-game hitting streak that he'd love to extend. Was a great block by Perez. That ball hit a good 3 or 4 feet in front of the plate. This would have gotten by a whole lot of major league catchers, but not Salvi. He might have caught that off his right hand.
Takes it up and takes it inside. So he's got the catbird seated 2-0 with Avi on deck.
Outfield dead straight away and pretty deep all the way around.
Pretty spread out all the way around. Static lead by Abreu. And that's high and souvenir time.
Got the pitch he wanted. He got a high fastball right down the middle. Just able to foul it back. Getting your arm loosened up in case they need somebody late out of the pen. Oh, the spiked curveball you're trying to master.
Oh yeah.
Okay, well that'll help you out.
You can hear it.
I can hear it when you do that. Yeah.
It's hard to hear anything with these seams as low as they are.
I know that's a huge difference these days over
Mike
what
Music,
it once was.
Who is with Kansas City now, and Mike, of course, was with the White Sox, and one of our dear friends. We were talking earlier and talking about how the seams in years past, you could hear the ball. And we were talking about Sam McDowell, and I told him Sam is the only pitcher that I ever faced. Sudden Sam McDowell pitched with Cleveland and some other clubs, Yankees, San Francisco, but to this day had the best 4 pitches I've ever seen. And you could hear 3 of them because of the seams. You'd hear, always hear his curveball, zzz, slider, zzz, fastball occasionally, zzz, because of the seams. Only pitch. When you're facing a guy you can hear 3 of his pitches, you got a problem. Comebacker. We're still scoreless through 3.5.
There's Yoan Moncada, and the Charlotte Knights take on the Norfolk Tide. Tyler Danish and his 1.96 ERA takes the mound tomorrow night at 6 on CSN.
Curveball misses. To Merrifield. Witt. Struck out, called out, leading off the bottom of the first. No score here in the fourth.
Good slow curveball by Mike.
Nice. That was
yeah, it
nice.
was. Followed up the first missed breaking ball with another one that threw it exactly where he wanted to, low and away. There's a sinker. Let's see if he gets it in.
Hit into left field. He got it in.
Now let's take a look at our farm report. Yoan Moncada, 3 for 4 today. Scored a couple of runs, raised his batting average to .330. What a talent. Guy that swings it well from both sides of the plate and can run like the wind. Yoan Moncada. You'll see him.
I was struck at Sox Fest on just how big he is, not in height, but how wide he is and how thick he is.
He's a strong young man. Strong young man who can steal 60 or 65 bases if you turn him loose all the time.
It's always the off season too. Put that Bears uniform on.
Yeah, that's just what he needs. A good run over the middle, catch a few passes.
Moustakas fouls it straight back. Mike grounded out to Sanchez. Saw Mike and his wife leaving the ballpark last night. And their new little baby girl who is absolutely just gorgeous. All dressed up in pink.
Well, being a free agent, she might just have to get used to a brand new neighborhood.
Mike is a guy, you know, I've always thought hadn't even come close to reaching his potential.
Well, imagine this guy in a hitter-friendly ballpark, which this is not.
Short and quick. Anytime you get a left-handed hitter who's strong like he is, and short and quick, well, you put him in. Steve described a hitter-friendly ballpark, and they're going to do some damage. The 1-2.
Well, Moustakas is going to make some pretty substantial money in the free agent market because he's young enough and has a good enough glove to where a third baseman who can hit the ball out of the ballpark like he can, and probably will get a bit better when he gets into that hitter-friendly park, he's going to be highly sought after. Left-hand hitting third baseman who can field a bit.
Oh, he's
They're
a
at a
good
premium
player.
Yeah, he is.
And another 1-2 pitch.
If he can throw an off-speed pitch, keep it on the outer portion of the plate, Moustakas is going to hit a ground ball to the right side. And see if he can get it there, depending on what he throws. Well, there's the changeup. Let's see if he gets it there.
Had him way out in front. 2 down. There's one thing that's very noticeable through the first almost 2.5 games now of this series. We're just not seeing What these guys made famous for 4 or 5 years. That was the Kansas City Specials. A little broken bat here, a little swinging bunt there, a little bunt here, a little infield single, a little duck snort there.
Well, this was the best team in baseball at making contact. And they did it up and down their lineup, and then they had the opportunity to run. They normally did. But putting the bat on the ball and putting the pressure on the opposing defense was a characteristic of the Royals.
That's why they were so good at it. Because they did it on a consistent basis. So that's just the second hit, the 2-out single by Lorenzo.
That's a really nice play by Leury out in right center field. Because Kane had a double on his mind. And he hit this ball hard. And Leury comes over, gets to it, uses the 360 spin, gets it back in, and forces Kane, who had taken a huge turn at first base, to go back to the bag. Nice job by Leury, holding Kane to a single.
And while we're talking about Kansas City Specials, a couple of Kansas City Specials named Duper and Topper.
Is that super?
Duper.
Super duper?
Duper and Topper.
And they are?
They work for the Royals, and they are in the film room down there. And had a chance to meet and talk with them yesterday. Duper and Topper.
Kane 6 for 6 in stolen bases, and they will not hesitate, even though Eric Hosmer has torched Mike Pelfrey over the course of his career, including that base hit in the second. $14 of 18 the Royals have swiped this year. Picture, Rusty Kuntz. He's the first base coach. Kane got a very good lead, and he's out a little further this time.
Right at the bottom of the zone, 1-1.
There's a look at Rusty. Long time coach.
One of the great guys in the game.
He's a really good man.
Almost spun his wheels a little too much. Belfry, especially for a big man, good right-handed move.
Well, he'd have picked him off if that ball was a little bit more into the runner, because it got there ahead of Kane, but it was on the wrong side of the first base bag. Well, here's the pitch to run if Ned Yost wants to run. Stayed right there.
I think Ned likes that hole between first and second.
He didn't have much of it with Sanchez where he is.
But he's got more than he would if he's back on the outfield grass.
Yeah.
Which he would be. There he goes. Safe.
Really doesn't matter because it's ball 4, but it was a good throw. He was in ahead of it and then waited to a 3-1 pitch. Still got first and second, 2 outs.
So Heisman draws the walk. And that'll bring up Salvador Perez hit into a 5-4-3 double play. We don't need that right now. 2 out, 2 on.
First walk of the night for Mike Pelfrey, and he has slowed it down somewhat after working very quickly through the first 3.
Perez now 5 for 21 lifetime off Pelfrey.
He had a good sinker in on his hands the first time up in the second that turned into a very, very good 5-4-3 double play.
One and 0. Two and 0. That ball high and deep into right center field, but we got a man there. And that'll retire the side. Well, they span 2 and we're into the 5th, still no score. MCR Sox take on the San Diego Padres at 6:10, and all fans are invited to stay for a spectacular postgame fireworks show presented by Magellan Corporation. So to purchase tickets, visit whitesox.com or call 866-SOX-GAME.
What's your philosophy when you have a hitter who's off to a great start, sitting fairly comfortably in the 6th spot in the batting order? When do you think about changing for Avi to take advantage of the hot start, get him up toward the middle of the lineup? Or do you just leave him there?
For me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
So just leave him and
leave him right there until he starts. You know, with him, as you well know, I'm a firm believer in top loading your lineup.
Yeah. Yeah.
And a lot of guys don't want to do that, that's their prerogative, and that's the way the game's played for over 100 years. But I think the game has changed now, only because the bullpen has changed, and you want to give your hitters, your good hitters, the opportunity to have one more at bat late in the ball game against those good bullpen guys. But if a guy's swinging the bat well, leave him exactly where he's at.
Well, that is the plan, at least for the foreseeable future, for Ricky Renteria, who pretty much almost echoed the same type of sentiment. Avi looks pretty comfortable right now, and for the meantime, there's no reason to move him out of that spot.
The analogy would be you get a guy who's really doing a great job in the 7th inning for you out of the bullpen, and all of a sudden your closer gets a little dinged up or sore, ouchy, whatever it may be, and all of a sudden you think, well, maybe I'll put that guy up in the 9th hole, the closer shot. Well, usually it doesn't work.
No, the 9th inning is outs 25, 6, and 7, the most difficult outs in the game to get, and there's not a whole lot of people in the world that can get those outs 85% or better.
There are a lot of components that go into getting those outs.
Yeah, they're the lockdown closers, and there's very few of them.
1-2. I've seen that many times, as you have over the course of all the years that you and I have been in this game, that the guy would be, like you just mentioned, hit great in 6th hole. Guy in the cleanup spot's not doing too well. Going to give him a break. Put the guy up there in the 6th hole. Now you got 2 guys that are not doing too well.
And Avi,
he could not check it up. He got hot at himself.
Yeah, broke the bat. Third strikeout for Carnes, who has thrown the ball really well. Avi can't check it up, and it's a little unhappy. That gives you an idea. Now, he's a big, strong guy. He didn't hit the bat all that hard. Gives you an idea about how fragile those maple bats are. Because that thing, if it didn't explode, it came close.
So here is Leury. Right back to him. So quickly 2 out. Well, Ivy is so strong that it wouldn't surprise me to see him one day grab it by one end with his right hand, the other end with his left hand, and just snap it in 2.
Yeah, that's not easy.
No, I saw Frank Howard do it with an ash bat.
You also saw Jim
Bo
Rice.
Jackson.
You saw Jim Rice check his swing and break
in Detroit.
The bat. Yeah, that's astonishing.
Don Zimmer was coaching third base, and he had to really scurry to get out of the way of it. Hit the ground.
On a check swing, no contact, broken bat. Pretty amazing.
Well, I think that without question, 2 strongest right-handed hitters I've ever seen in my career were Frank Howard, number 1, and Bo Jackson, number 2.
Well, give this young man in New York an opportunity.
I haven't seen him enough yet.
Right now, he's hitting the ball a mile.
I'll tell you what, from what I've seen, I don't think he could catch Hondo, Big Frank, and I don't think he could catch Bo, but he's liable to down the road.
Yeah.
There have been so many strong guys. I saw some balls hit that, some of them you had to. I saw the one Mantle hit off Bill Fisher in Yankee Stadium and hit the side. A couple more feet and it goes all the way out.
Said what, 565?
No, that was Chuck Dobbs in Washington. That they measured that one. I think it's 602, 602 feet, 603 feet.
I know, but it was long gone.
Well, Mickey said the hardest ball he ever hit was that one off Fisher. That's into center field. Carnes making it look easy. We're halfway home. No score. right, Chuck, thank you very much. Well, this is baseball. And sometimes baseball can be a tough and difficult game to play. And if you're not going to protect your players, you shouldn't be out there on the mound. 0-1 to count. Gordon hit a little soft line drive to Sanchez.
Meantime, 3 hits combined. 2 belong to the Royals. Just Melky, as Pelfrey and Carnes thrown it pretty well.
Breaking ball strike. Well, I understand that the commissioner had a conference call today with both the managers and general managers of the Red Sox and Orioles. They've had some issues up there the last few days.
Yes, they have.
That's high in the right center field. Leary. 1 out. That'll bring up Jorge Bonifacio. One of the big differences in the game today for all you youngsters out there who didn't see, obviously, baseball a long time ago, is that the game itself allowed the players to police themselves a heck of a lot more than they're doing today.
Yeah, well, those days are bye-bye.
Players took care of the game themselves, and they took care of it very well in fine fashion for a long time. And I think Manfred so far has been good. He's done his job, but I hope they don't keep piling on regulations, so to speak, and changes.
Well, there's still a few rules that are going to need some adjustment. That play at the plate that seems so vague as to what the catcher can do, what he can't do. They're going to have to find some way to make that definitive, where it's not going to be a guessing game by the umpires and what was the intention.
Well, that's where who's paying the price of the umpires. Yeah. They don't know what to do.
It's a tough call the way the rule stands at this point.
And you know, injuries are part of every sport. Injuries are part of baseball. Injuries are part of football and basketball, hockey. Oh, he just ate him up right there. Ate him up. 2 now. And it's getting to where you can't take anybody out of second base. You can't run over a catcher if it's going to be a close play at home plate. I mean, and managers are having to manage today by sabermetrics a lot to a game that they never played. The game was different when they played it than now they're managing. There's a number. Don't get me wrong. I love numbers. I love math. And there's a place for numbers in baseball, sabermetrics and everything. But as I said a couple of years ago, not to the point they've elevated it. Now, are they starting to use them more and more? Sure they are. But I think there are a lot of things that, as you say, have to be defined a little bit better as far as the rules go.
I think there's a really easy fix as far as that play at the plate. There's going to be catchers who don't mind a collision at the plate. There's going to be other catchers who don't want a collision at the plate, and it's pretty easy to work it out. We will come back to that in the next inning.
Everybody called for it, and Anderson made the catch, so we're into the 6th.
Dan Hayes talks to Tommy Kahnle about his hot start. Plus, Chuck Garfien and company wonder if the new and improved Avi Garcia is here to stay. Subscribe to the White Sox Talk podcast today. We'll get back to that rule at the plate.
I can't stand that rule, that Posey rule.
And we've got a pinch hitter coming in. Matt Davidson for Cody Ashe.
So, Cody was 0 for 1 with a strikeout. That went 0 for 4 in the first game. No, go back to the rule, though.
Okay, back to the rule. What I think should be, if you want to block the plate, block it. And then you have a collision, well, whatever happens, happens. For the catchers who don't want to block the plate, get out in front of home plate like it is today. Get out in front of home plate, then you can come back and make the tag. If you run a catcher down who's out in front of home plate, who obviously is not there for the contact, that's when some sort of suspension or fine, certainly, preferably a suspension because you're taking a shot at a defenseless guy. There's no interpretation on the umpire. You can hit a catcher if he's by the plate. The guys that don't want to be by the plate go out in front, and then you can't get hit. It's very simple. Again, then you don't have to read the mind of these players. And there are some catchers that want to block the plate. Let them do it.
Well, one thing that's being overlooked, I think, entirely in that whole scenario with the Posey rule is the fact that if you take a runner and a catcher who have a collision at home plate as he's trying to run over the catcher, at least half the time, maybe more than that, the runner is more injured and hurt than the catcher because the catcher's got all the pads on.
And if he has a chance to put the ball away and brace himself for the contact, the catcher should be able to deliver the blow.
Well, you're in trouble if he gets that ball 8 or 10 feet before you get there.
And if you come in looking for contact, should be able to do it again without having the umpire decide, well, was his foot over the line when he caught the ball? Was he blocking the plate before he had the ball? When exactly did he have it? I mean, it becomes a difficult rule to enforce now.
Well, as I said earlier, I just feel bad for the umpires because they're right in the middle on the thing. Caught right in the middle.
So if you change that, and it would be an easy fix, you change it, and then you don't have to worry about where was his foot when he caught the ball.
0-2 the count to Anderson. He's 0 for 2. He's gone out to left and grounded to second. And that's a souvenir.
Carnes has been awfully good, getting everything over, changing speeds. His control has been probably the best it's been all year. There you look at the numbers, and very impressive.
Well, I've said it before. Baseball's been built on 3 things. Great players. That's number 1. Rivalries and tradition. That is the 3 pillars of the foundation of baseball. And baseball's taken pretty good care of itself for a long time.
It is thriving now.
Well, it's thriving because the talent we're seeing right now is incredible. The young talent coming in is just incredible. Two down. And the 2017 Chicago White Sox are presented by Guaranteed Rate. Thinking about buying a home? Well, visit rate.com to find a low mortgage rate and a fast and easy process. There's Ulmer, 0 for 2. Outfield straight up, spread out. No runs, 1 hit for us. That 1 hit, a single by Cabrera back in the first inning. No runs on 2 hits for them. Leadoff single by Hosmer in the second, and a single by Kane in the fourth. 0-2.
Yolmer has some surprising power at times. You don't think about him as a man who can hit the ball out of the ballpark consistently, but he can put a charge into it.
And he's going to reach first.
Probably strike out wild pitch.
That's what it is.
Yep. Watch it again. Good curveball, hitting right in front of Yolmer's foot. Now, Perez tried to backhand it, which is never a good thing. He's got good enough hands where we've seen him make that play quite a bit, but on strike 3 especially, you got to move to your right and smother that ball, and the inning continues.
So you'll have a chance for 4 strikeouts here. There he goes. And he's safe.
Nice job by Melky, and the reason is that Carnes wasn't paying attention to Yolmer at first base, and he got such a good jump that Melky just took it, knowing that there was no chance for Perez to make that play. And he's going out there now to talk to him about a couple different things. One is taking a look at the base runner, but the set of signs they want to use with Yolmer at second base. And it's been a long time since his last stolen bag, September 8th, 2015.
Make them pay right here. Well, they have had 1 base runner to second, and now we have had a base runner to second.
They have decent arms in the outfield, but you'd think Nick Capra would be very aggressive.
Two and 1 the count.
There's a look at Nick, new third base coach. He is shown to be very aggressive in the early going. And tonight he's shown to be very cold.
That's up high, 3-1. Abreu on deck. So we'll see if they want to give in to Cabrera.
Pitch number 91 on the way.
Both guys have been impressive if you're just tuning in. Velvet for us and Carnes for them. And there is ball 4. That's the first walk issued by Carnes. Abreu 0 for 2. Grounded to first, and then a fielder's choice, 6-4 in the 4th.
First inning, he hit the ball very hard, but Hosmer was standing right there.
Takes first pitch strike. Tried to have a little redo on that one and missed down low. Count evens at 1.
Royal bullpen up and going for the first time tonight. Righty and a lefty getting ready in a hurry.
Well, bring him on, somebody in. Get him out of there.
In the anybody but Carnes philosophy.
He got away with one right there.
He wanted that one low and away, and that one hung on the inner portion. Moylan, the sidearm right-hander, and Strom, very talented left-hander. It's one of the guys out of their bullpen that has a huge upside. Strom throws it really well.
Two on, two out on the 1-2 pitch. Well, he strikes out 4 guys this inning. We strand 2, and we're still scoreless. Escobar to lead it off, then back to the top of the order with Merrifield and Moustakas. Escobar hit the ball hard in the left center field. Meanwhile, can of corn.
In his ballpark, if you're hitting fly balls, as Escobar has been most of this season, you're not going to do very well, because you got to crank it to get it out of here, especially alley to alley.
Ate him up inside. He has really worked both sides of the plate, but especially the inside corner to the right-handed hitters, which is great to see.
Yeah, that sets up his breaking ball away, sets up that changeup away. We're talking about righty to righty. But the fact that he's been able to get inside consistently tonight has set up this performance, which is really a good one. With the bullpen continuing to work for Kansas City, you would think that would be it for Carnes, who was absolutely brilliant through 6. Only 1 single, that to Melky.
Ate him up again in there. Good play by Todd. 1 out. And White Sox Charities invites fans to celebrate over 25 years of giving $25 for 25. Donate $25 or more on May 10th and 11th with a chance to win White Sox prizes, including autographed items and experiences. So for more information and to participate, visit whitesox.com/Sox25. Merrifield 0 for 2.
Outfield shading him to right center field. The gap is in left center. Melky well off the line and left.
He went out to Melky back in the 4th inning. Belfry got in on him. A little soft line drive to Cabrera. And the count moves to 1-2.
Merrifield just kind of shook his head because he was guessing, and he got a fastball right down the middle and just took it. He is way up on the bat.
ate him up. And the finale of this 4-game series tomorrow, Derek Holland for us against Ian Kennedy for them in that game right here on CSN Chicago. And after the game tomorrow, off to Camden Yards.
Kennedy off to a good start, although he hasn't won a game. He's 0-2, but his ERA at 2.30 is one of the best on the ball clubs. And there is no doubt Derek Holland off to a great start. He's 2-2, but his ERA at 2.17, so should be a very good pitching matchup tomorrow afternoon for the finale.
One, two. Up the middle. And there's the 1-out single.
He tried to get that ball inside on Merrifield. He got it out over the plate, and he took it right back up the middle. So after cracking his bat, he tried to go in one more time, and unfortunately, he couldn't get it there. You see where Omar was set up? That ball was up and out over the plate. And he's aboard with the 3rd Kansas City hit.
And here's Moustakas. Ike grounded to Sanchez and popped up to Cabrera. In that Orioles series, we're going to run Gonzalez, Covey, and Quintana out there. They're going to run Wade Miley, Dylan Bundy, and to be announced against us. Did not come back. He tried to backdoor him. 1-0.
Dan Jennings in the pen. The ever-present Dan Jennings is the only left-hander. He does get a whole lot of work. And he leads the team in appearances. Merrifield 1 for 1 in stolen bases.
There's a solid smash into, well, it's going to get by him. So here comes Merrifield. He's going to score. And it's 1-0 Royals.
RBI number 12 for Moustakas, who split the gap in right center field. Gets the daylights out of this one and goes all the way to the wall. Merrifield scores easily. And that, the first run of the ball game.
That'll bring up Kane. He is 1 for 2. You look at this from a Sox standpoint is we were going to have to score anyway.
Well, there's no doubt that Jennings is getting ready for Hosmer.
Two 2-0.
Fourth inning, a little bit tough as far as the pitchers are concerned. Other than that, Pelfrey has kept it to a minimum of pitches. But because he hasn't gone this far in any ball game, it could very well be that the stuff isn't quite as sharp now.
3-0.
Yeah, with Ned Yost knowing that most likely it's going to be Jennings to face Hosmer, he probably will be turning Kane loose on the 3-0 pitch.
Outfield straight up, Bobby. Short and right.
He turned him loose, but that one was a painful experience for Lorenzo Cain as he fouled it off his leg. So he's airing it out on the 3-0 count. But it's right off the left knee.
Looked like it right on top of the kneecap.
It did. That one doesn't feel too good.
Kneecap burger.
You've done that a time or two, haven't you?
Nope.
You never got one off the knee?
No.
Really?
No.
Wow.
Off my foot a few times, off my ankle a few times, but never off the knee. And that's trouble. Kostakis scores on the triple by Cain. And it's 2-0.
Consecutive single, double, and triple, and I don't believe Mike's going to be around for Hosmer as Cain takes it the other way, drives in just his 6th run of the year, and makes it a 2-0 game as this one scoots by Avi. And then Cain is off to the races. Long strides, very quick. He's able to coast in easily at third base. That's going to bring Ricky Renteria out. That's going to mean the end of the night for Mike Pelfrey. And so Ricky calls to the pen. Mike Pelfrey takes a walk out after a really strong performance. And as he walks out, so will we. We'll be back.
WhiteSox.com blacklist. Get the latest breaking news, see the latest video features, enjoy special ticket offers, and much, much more. So visit WhiteSox.com/blacklist to register today.
Our Hyundai call to the pen is Dan Jennings. He inherits Lorenzo Cain at third base. Only one out. He's 2-0 this year, on for the 13th time. His ERA a minuscule .93. You're looking at some very impressive numbers. The infield is going to have to come in at all 4 positions. Mike Pelfrey did a really good job before running into a bit of a buzzsaw here in the 6th. He leaves trailing 2-0.
Here's Hosmer. He is 1 for 1, a single and a walk. He is 3 for 16 lifetime off Jennings. That's going to get the job done. Nice play. Nice play by Leary. Meanwhile, it's 3-0.
RBI number 9 as Hosmer took that to the deepest recesses of the ballpark. It looked like Leury might have gotten shaken up a bit as he collided with the wall. He's still feeling the effects of that. Hosmer thought he got it. He did, but this park's a little too big for him that way. And Leury still feeling the effects of a very strong play and a collision abruptly with the wall.
Like he hit the side of his head on the wall. Meanwhile, here is Perez, 0 for 2. Takes ball 1. All just started, 1 out, nobody on. Missed a little bit with that fastball out over the plate. He was trying to get in on Merrifield. Hit the single back through the middle. Moustakas with a bullet double in the gap. Triple by Kane, sacrifice fly by Hosmer.
It is truly amazing in a close game how just the slightest problem you might have becomes magnified, and that is he'd broken Merrifield's bat. We're talking about, in this case, Pelfrey broke his bat, got a new one, tried to get inside again, got it out over the plate, and that started the 3 runs that Kansas City is enjoying right now.
But he only missed just a few inches.
Yeah, that's all it takes.
And that's all it takes in the big major leagues. So you miss like Quintana earlier on in those early starts. He was just missing by a couple inches and not getting away with it. That's how tough it is to pitch in the major leagues. And on the other side of that page, when he's hitting the spots, that's how tough it is to hit in the major leagues. Nice play by Todd. But a crooked number goes up on that board. We'll go to the 7th, trailing 3-0. Mobile app for live White Sox baseball. You can stay connected with a fully customizable experience. Get White Sox home screen icons and app features, as well as game day, live game, video highlights, radio broadcasts, statcast, news, and more. Download MLB.com at bat today.
Peter Moylan coming in the ball game on for the 16th time. So when you talk about busy men, very few guys are as busy as he is. ERA up over 5. There you look at the numbers. Control's been pretty good. He's very tough on the right-handers at 235. Left-handers have torched him to the tune of 375.
Frazier, Ivy, and Leury. Todd. Looks at ball one. Carter's going out to right, and the comebacker to Carnes.
Nate Carnes was absolutely terrific tonight. 6 innings, 1 hit, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts, including 4 in the 6th inning.
And our Mike Pelfrey was terrific for 5.
He was very good.
There's a strike. 2-1.
Matt Strahm, a talented young left-hander, off to a slow start this year, but at times last year we saw him, he was absolutely unhittable. Very good curveball. Trying to keep that hitting streak alive. If not here, he most likely will get one more shot at it.
Escobar right over the top of that gun. He's got one. 1 out.
Moylan originally signed by the Minnesota Twins way back in 1996. Pitched for Australia twice in the World Baseball Classic.
Breaking ball strike to Avi, who's 0 for 2.
Outfield playing straight away. No shift at all. It's rare when you see that.
Nothing into the count.
Chris Beck loosening in the pen.
That's a fair ball. Look at the play.
Well, that's just an outstanding effort, especially when you factor in the speed of Avi going down the line. Moustakas diving into foul territory with enough arm to get up, the quickness to get it across, and the accuracy to make sure that he's out at first. Big effort by Moustakas.
Well, he is a terrific third baseman, as we talked about earlier. That's a major league play right there.
And beats him by a half step at first. Huge effort.
Here's Liuri. Twice he has gone out to Escobar at short. There's a play right there. If you're the hitter, get back to that dugout and you go to the top step of it. Yell out to Moose and give him a standing O.
At that point, there's nothing you can do.
That's all you can do.
You applaud the effort because it's a great play.
That's right. That's exactly right. Miguel Cabrera is one reason I love to watch him play. He would have done that.
Oh, he's very good about.
Oh yeah.
Giving congratulations when guys make a good play against him.
Right to the bag it takes him. 7th inning stretch, not good.
That's up-to-the-minute scores and standings right on your television. Change the way you experience sports with Xfinity X1. I've occasionally talked into my remote control, but didn't seem to want to answer me. Now you get an answer. How about that?
Sounds like a plan. Bottom of the 7th. Gordon, Bonifacio, and Moss. Scheduled hitters. Alex 0 for 2. Takes first pitch strike. Three, 5, and 1 for them. 0-1 and 0 for us. Just one hit, that coming back in the first inning. Single by Cabrera. Three and 1. And a full count. Once again, a reminder, tomorrow make your plans to be with us. Derek Holland against Ian Kennedy in that game right here on CSN Chicago. Payoff pitch.
That's what it's going to look like tomorrow afternoon for the finale. Both pitchers off to terrific starts. Kennedy has not won yet, but doesn't diminish. A 2.30 ERA in the 5 starts. Opponent's batting average just 159. Very respectable 2.04 for Derek Holland.
So here's Bonifacio. He's 0 for 2. Out and around it. Jorge hit a little looper. Sanchez at second, and hit a little comebacker. A check swing to the pitcher. Just 23 years old and very strong.
Not quite sure where they want to play Bonifacio, but for the moment, he's playing right field. Got a good enough arm certainly to play there. He's got enough speed to play just about anywhere.
Good effort by Sanchez. Good play by Anderson to get him over and get the lead man. Good pick right there by Yolmer.
In the hole, he gets the out, and that's the long hop. And then No real reason to throw that one, because unless Bonifacio's fallen down, you're not going to get him at first.
So here's Brandon Moss.
Keep the ball up on Moss, you've got no problems. You get a low fastball out over the plate, and Moss can hit it a long way.
He's dangerous down there.
Yeah, he is.
And there's a base hit. The ball was up a little bit, and he's still able to get some good wood on it.
Belt high, takes it through the right side. The shift was on, but he hit that one to the right of Yolmer, and Bonifacio scoots into third. So here comes Ricky with runners at the corners and only one out. And with the right-hander up in Escobar, let's see if it's time for Dan Jennings to depart. The way he's talking to him, you would think that he wants him to stay in the game, and one of the things he's talking to him about is the possibility of a bunt from Escobar.
So Renteria almost over that tough knee problem he had.
Well, he was hobbled by that.
They was on a crutch at one time.
Yep. So he can't play all the way in at this point. Infield about halfway, looking for two.
Escobar is going out deep to left center and grounded to third. Frazier made a good play on it.
He has one sacrifice bunt this year. And that was really the good play to make. The push bunt to the right side is perfect. You move up a runner, you score a runner, but he couldn't put it in play.
0-1 and a 3-0 Royal lead here in their half of the 7th inning. Third of this 4-game set. We split the first two. They won the opener 6-1 behind Vargas, and last night Quintana was just sensational. We won that ball game 6-0. Yes, he did. And the count 0-2. So the Sox, who for the last 5 years had a tough time here and at home against the Royals. This year we played them 5 times coming into the night, and we have won 4 of those 5.
Escobar is not going to walk. 3 times in 91 at bats this year as he walked.
That's a lot for him. That's low, and Omar keeps it in front of him. A cold night here in the heart of Mid-America. Royals averaging 25,844, and for the temperature, not a bad crowd at all. Outfielders short, especially Avi and Wright. Avi lately has really been moving around out there, probably just about as much as any right fielder you'll see, and he has not been afraid to play short on certain guys. They'll tell you his confidence is growing and growing.
Well, and justifiably so. He believes he's moving a lot better this year than he has in any year past. He's right.
Oh, he's made some terrific plays out there. Every now and then you get burned, but that's okay. And that's by tied down the left field line. It's 4-0 on the double by Escobar.
Fourth run batted in this year. Mercedes got out in front of that. It's going to be the last pitch Dan is going to throw as he takes it down the line past the diving Todd Frazier.
Well, he didn't kill it, but he got it just enough of it. His tie was in. And he'll pick up his 6th two-bagger. He departs. And we'll be back. Once-in-a-lifetime experiences, from Chicago White Sox games to amazing concerts and shows you don't want to miss out. StubHub, your ticket out. StubHub, the official fan-to-fan ticket marketplace of the Chicago White Sox.
Hyundai called to the pen, and it is Chris Beck. On for the 3rd time. He inherits runners at 2nd and 3rd, only 1 out, and the infield in at all 4 positions.
Here's Merrifield. Whit started off that 3-run 6th, and that's going to get the job done.
RBI number 4 for Merrifield.
And that's a 5-0 ball game. 22,298. As here is Moustakas. 1 for 3, a double, RBI, and a run scored.
Omar out to talk with Chris. What he wants to do with Moustakas, who last time up looked like he might have been off the plate just a bit more than he was in the earlier at bats. He's pretty much in the same spot now against Beck.
Count evens at 1. Just joining us, Orioles 3 in the 6th, 2 so far here in the 7th.
Escobar came about halfway down the line. With Frazier playing pretty much a straight up shortstop, he knows he's got all kinds of room to get a lead, and looked like he was thinking about stealing home.
Dahmer's got him, and that'll retire the side, but 2 more go up on the board, and we trail by 5.
Lending.com. eClick is located in Chicagoland and is rated A+ by the Better Business Bureau. eClick Lending, boom, your mortgage just happened. A new pitcher coming in the ball game. It is Matt Strahm. Off to a slow start this year. Last year he just had a brilliant first season. 0-2 ERA 11.81. He's on for the 8th time. Last year, close to unhittable. 1.23 ERA in 21 appearances and a 2-2 record. Great curveball. Last year it was on all the time.
Well, he's 25 years old. He looks, just to the eye, like he's taller than he is. He is 6'3", 200 pounds, but he looks from up here like he's 6'4", 6'5". Out of West Fargo, North Dakota. There's the strike, and the count evens.
Last year he was a starting pitcher in Double-A at Northwest Arkansas, and then when he came to Kansas City, they moved him into the pen where he was very effective. Normally, if he gets you to 2 strikes on a lefty-lefty situation, uses that curveball, it's usually game over. Let's see what happens here. That time he missed way wide. Good idea.
Well, he still had, I tell you what, he threw it hard and he still had a lot of break on it.
Oh yeah, it's one of the better ones around.
Reminds me a little bit of Dan Plesac. A lot of motion out there.
Well, if he has about 2/3 of the longevity of Dan Plesac, he will have had a magnificent career.
He made himself a ton of money.
Boy, in this day and age, yeah, especially as effective as Dan was most of his career.
Here's the payoff pitch.
There was 94 on the outside corner, right around thigh high. He struck out a guy that's pretty tough to strike out in Omar Narvaez. Perez wants it low and away, and he fills up the glove.
That's just an easy motion
Yep.
for 94.
That's why, I mean, I just thought the world of him last year. They got to make a decision if they want to use him as a starter or a reliever.
First pitch strike to Davidson at 93. He pinch hit for Cody Ashe.
Strom originally drafted in the 22nd round by the Royals. He decided to sign. He was committed to go to Nebraska, but felt he wanted to start his professional career, and that he did.
Hit softly to Escobar. If you're just joining us, our guys just couldn't get anything going offensively tonight, mainly because of Nate Carnes, who had a lot to do with that.
Yeah,
Boy, he really was sharp.
He was brilliant.
Yeah.
Struck out 4 men in the 6th inning, 7 overall, walked 1, gave up just 1 hit, that to Melky in the 1st inning, and that was that.
Moved the ball around, had a real good curveball.
Yeah, he did. That's what they had in mind when they brought him over from Seattle. Because they gave a pretty good player.
Well, you
Jared
framed him good up in the 1st inning, saying if he gets the curveball over, we got a tough time with him.
Yeah, and he did, and unfortunately, that's what happened.
Anderson. Well, sometimes when guys like that, as a hitter, either before in the hitters meeting or going over it with the hitting coach or whatever, you got to make up your mind, hey, I can't do anything with him on that curveball. I got to try to figure out a way to get in that box someplace that I can make him throw me the fastball. And if he doesn't, then grab some bench. But at least you had a chance to be dangerous, because you're not going to be dangerous looking for the ball, period.
No, with Carnes, you just have to hope that it's one of those nights where he's not getting the curveball over. Then he's a little more comfortable to face. But tonight wasn't one of those nights. He got everything over.
Yep, that scoreboard will tell you everything you got to know as a player and a fan about a game. And if you look at that scoreboard right now, that'll tell you that Carnes was getting everything over. Because we didn't exactly hang out some ropes on him either. One, two, three, inning, go to the bottom of the 8th, trailing by a fistful. All right, our Chuck, thank you. Well, that's an interesting scenario that could have developed in there. In Boston, we'll have to see how it plays out. Kane leading off. He's 2 for 3, a single and a triple with an RBI. Two and 0 the count. And just checking over some scores for you. Minnesota leading Oakland 7-3, bottom of the 7th at Target Field. That's whopping. The Braves down in Atlanta 16-5. That's on the top of the 8th. Come back and get him. No walks. Marlins leading Tampa Bay 10-5, bottom of the 9th in St. Pete. Yankees leading Toronto 8-6, top of the 9th in the Bronx. There's one. Come back and get him. Milwaukee at St. Louis postponed earlier. Cincinnati beat Pittsburgh 7-2. And on Cincinnati.
There was a break. That ball was way inside off the plate.
That's one of the few tonight that Adam Hamari has missed.
Omar did a nice job of actually just easing it back in the zone, even though it was about 3 inches inside off the plate.
Cleveland beat the Tigers 3-2 in Detroit. Payoff pitch. High right side. Avi.
Sox are back on CSN tomorrow afternoon to wrap up the series against these Royals. Coverage starts tomorrow at 12:30 with White Sox pregame live, and stream the game at csnchicago.com.
So here's Hosmer. He's 1 for 1 with a walk and a sacrifice fly. Red Sox beat Baltimore 4-2 at Fenway. Washington beat the D-backs 2-1 in D.C. Houston 18-9 beat Texas 8-1. Just muscles that one through for the base hit.
This is the way that Hosmer has to hit to be successful. He will occasionally pull the ball, hit it out of the park, but he's had a perfect night tonight. He's used center and left field for his 2 base hits. Sacrifice fly coming in the 6th inning to go with it. If Hosmer takes it to the opposite field, he's pretty good.
Well, usually when guys get jammed or jammed themselves, they're usually swinging the bat pretty good. Pokes that one deep into right field. And Avi is there. So Perez now 0 for 4. That's an old saying. Show me a guy can't be jammed and I'll show you a bad hitter. Only the adjective they used was not bad.
Gordon, one of the many Royals, just off to a really slow start this year.
Well, they're only hitting .211 as a club.
Yeah, I mean, and run scoring last in the major leagues heading into tonight. For them, 5's a bonanza. That's a wild pitch.
One-0 pitch to Gordon. And it's 2-0. Ball is just smoked down into the corner. Well, the run scores, and it is 6-0.
Gordon got out in front of a high fastball.
Well, he's going to hit, you know that.
Yeah, and he drove in his 6th run of the year.
His 5th double. He is going to hit. But old saying in baseball, you're never as good as you look when you're winning or as bad as you look when you're losing. And that is so true most of the time. Bonifacio 0 for 3. Close pitch, didn't get it. And that Houston 8-1 lead in 7th inning over the Rangers. Correa's 4 for 4 with a homer. Brian McCann is homer.
That Houston bunch is a really good team, and with Texas off to the kind of start they're off to, and Seattle off to the kind of start they're off to, really very tough for the Angels to play consistent enough to make sure that Houston doesn't run away and hide in the West.
Well, certainly adding Brian McCann helped him. Can't get that one. Also, that kid Bregman. Supposed to be something.
Oh, he's a good one. #1 draft pick out of LSU.
You got Springer, Reddick, Altuve, Correa, McCann, Bregman,
and Dallas Keuchel off to an unbelievable start this year.
2-2. Right here, 6-9-1 for them. 0-1 and 0 for us. One hit coming in the first inning. If you're just joining us, a line drive single in the left field by Correa. He gone. They pick up one. We're into the 9th. We need a bunch. Yolmer Sanchez will lead it off. He'll be followed by Cabrera and Abreu. We trail it by 6 against this good-looking young left-hander. That's Strom. Yolmer 0 for 3 tonight. Takes first pitch strike. Good rip.
Strom is now changing speeds on his fastball, which is very unusual for a young pitcher, especially a young left-hander. Homer wants something to help with the grip. It's a pine tar stick.
One out.
Just like we promised you earlier in the game, it's Miller time, brought to you by Miller Lite, and here's our Miller moment, and it came off the bat of Mike Moustakas. Mike Pelfrey was sailing right along, and Moustakas drilled this ball into the gap. His double in the 6th inning set the stage for a 3-run 6th, and for all intents and purposes, that was the ball game. Our Miller moment.
Cabrera takes ball 1. One hit for our guys. Two and 0 the count. There's one. And 2 and 2 the count. Arrieta in that game. Cubs against the Phillies. Cubs leading 5-4 8th inning. Arrieta went 6. We have 3 runs, 1 walk, 7 strikeouts. That's 4 strikeouts in an inning and 2/3 for this Strong kid.
To me, he's got a very good chance of being a starting pitcher. Although they're working him out of the pen, his stuff is good enough, and he's got a strong array of pitches. He can change speeds off the breaking ball, has a curve and a slider. They wonder about durability, but he's going to get stronger.
Well, there's one. There are a lot of things that teams wonder about. I mean, it amazes me. Let them go out and play. Yeah. See what they got.
As he was a starter up until he got here last year.
That ball hit high and deep, and you can put it on the board. Yes. Number 3 for Abreu, and we won't get shut out. It's a 6-1 ball game.
3 and 12 on the power numbers. And that just the second hit as Jose takes him deep. Our Ford home run replay. He got a hold of a curveball. This one didn't do a whole lot, and he just reached down, took it into the bullpen.
So here's tied. Well, the big thing here, you're trailing by 6 up until that home run. You don't want to, you just hate as a team and as a hitter, you hate to get shut out. Don't want to get shut out. I don't know, it's just something about it. Two and 0.
last opportunity to extend that 9-game hitting streak. Compliments of Jose, who kept it alive.
There's one. So the streak's going to come to an end, and that ball comes down, and this ball game is over. So we get on the board, but if there's one bright spot in the game for us tonight, it was first 5 innings for Mike Pelfrey.
I thought he was terrific. He just ran into a guy that wasn't going to give you anything, and Nate Carnes was a little bit better. Mike Pelfrey for 5 was good. Tired a bit in the 6th, and the final game of the series tomorrow. Get your rest. It's an early one.
All right, so for my partner, Steve Stone, our Hall of Fame director, Jim Angio, our producer, Keon Dolashahi, our associate producer, Dave Ross, the executive producer, Jim Corno Jr., very fine technical manager, Mark Harper, also for Sherry, for Janice, for Jeff, Rich down in the truck. This is a Hawk. So long, everybody. Coming up next, the Subaru Postgame Live. You've been watching Chicago White Sox baseball on CSN Chicago.